Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be talking about the familiar updates and changes that came out. There's been a lot of misinformation in terms of what these updates actually do. There's actually only been one single nerf for familiars, and that was Stagthorn, and I'll show you guys that first when we do go in here. So let's go ahead and dig in. So as I said, there's been a variety of things that I've heard across the spectrum. There's basically just two generalized changes, along with some familiar specific changes. So you have Stagthorn here. So his nerf isn't called out specifically in the information here. It's in this little red area down here. And it says, in order to allow defensive familiars to be more active in the front, Stagthorn's basic attack range has been adjusted from 400 to 350. Now, I imagine this is for familiar arena. It doesn't really say, but I imagine that's where it's at. I don't think this is a huge nerf. People were acting like this was the end of Stagthorn in my chat yesterday, and that's just really not the case. So there's been two primary changes, and then we had what I think is probably going to be a pretty big update to Arachnus, Remu, and a few others. So the primary update is going to affect most support familiars and most defensive familiars. So for support familiars, skilled cooldown of equipped fire familiars, it's just going to be really a change in wording there. But the actual adjustment is that the skill cooldown of party members equipped fire familiars, or the party, you know, like if you're thinking like Toko, if you're thinking potentially, you know, disbelief, all of these familiars that are support based, they're basically going to share their skill cooldown ability with party members at half the percentage that you have. So that's the primary update to most support familiars. They also get the benefit that they're going to remove debuffs from party members, and the resistance rate for the status ailment is going to be increased to 7 seconds. So that, like, for all support familiars that are getting changed, that's basically what's going on. And then their familiar arena gets the same counterpoint for instantly removing the debuff that the units have. Then you have kind of the second class of changes that have gone on here, Molten Lion being a prime example, where Molten Lion's original ability would be damage taken minus 1% for each fire familiar equipped, right? And a lot of tank familiars have these kind of passive bonuses. But what it's changed to, and what most tank familiars are going to have now, at least the ones that have been updated, are going to be damage taken minus 1% per equipped defensive familiar, and attack plus 1% per equipped attack or support familiar. So that's going to be the primary change that you're going to see as you do go through like Stagthorn, as you go through Molten Lion, as you go through some of these other defensive familiars. One of the interesting things that you will see as well is that there is going to be a reduced action time for doing familiar skills. So Molten Lion's skill, for example, is going to have basic attack motion time minus 0.1 seconds. Now, that's going to be for his familiar arena ability, but you have other units that get this for their active abilities, such as Firelynx is getting a decrease in his skill motion time and skill ending time. So there's a variety of changes like that, which we'll go through. And probably the biggest one is going to be Arachnus, which also has a higher chance to land her attack now with her active ability, which will be relatively powerful. So Firelynx got that change. He also got HP recovery minus 15% as well. Coming down and looking at the water familiars, Splisher got the standard support bonus, pretty much what you would expect. Disbelief got the standard support bonus. We have Toko got the standard support bonus as well. For some reason, people kept telling me Toko was nerfed. Toko is not nerfed. Sparky got the skill motion time adjusted, so he will be able to hit enemies a little bit better. I believe this is his familiar arena ability, though. This is not his active ability. Bird got a upgrade to his passive. He is a defensive familiar, but he didn't get the standard upgrade that we saw otherwise. He's just getting more kind of shared damage down, essentially, party wide. His heroic headbutt ability, which lowers target's attack speed and stuns, is going to lower movement speed as well. I don't think this is a huge upgrade for Bird, just because we're not seeing an increased chance to land the attack. That would probably be a lot more important. Flutterbee, pretty big update here. You got the standard support update, but then Flutterbee also got some changes. So in Familiar Arena, Flutterbee's cooldown was lowered to 3.7 seconds. But in the active field, so Flutterbee's ability is now going to affect party members by giving party members movement speed 20 to 40%. So it's not just going to be you that Flutterbee affects. So I suspect we may see, particularly in Team Arena, a lot more Flutterbee. Thumblelemur got the standard support updates, nothing too remarkable here. We got Crab-a-Lantern did get some relevant changes. So Crab-a-Lantern got the defensive familiar buff, so damage taken per defense familiar, attack per attack familiar. Got critical resist rate increased, so it got an additional 5% at Awakening 0, 10% at Awakening 7, which is pretty relevant. Shining Pumpkin increased familiar skill damage, up additional 5% at max or 2.5% at 0. And then we do have the skill activation cooldown in Familiar Arena was decreased. So you're also going to get the more Familiar's defense minus 10% as well. So it's going to be a debuff essentially as well. Not that I think that would make him 10 times more relevant. I think a lot of people have him at Awakening 0, but maybe it will. Bunnybot got, so basically Bunnybot got the crowd control effect duration of the party members is minus 5%. So a relevant buff, I would say. We also got increased all status effect resist rate by 100% while the shield is active in Familiar Arena. I wish they would tell us whether it was Familiar Arena or Battle. Maybe they do, and I just can't. I'm just not reading it right. Ebontorax got the partners light damage taken minus 5%, and then party members light damage taken as well. He did not get the defense and attack buffs because he has pretty standard abilities. Penguicorn got the standard passive buff along with skill effect casting time. So that was going to be going faster. For those wondering what the skill effect casting time, why that's important, there are going to be times where other familiars can cast before you. For example, like Ebontorax can stun because his cast time is so fast. So having the skill effect casting time reduced is going to be very important for things like that. Then we finally get to Arachnus, and I think this is going to be really interesting. We'll definitely have to test it. But Arachnus's skill hit rate has been greatly increased, and Remu has a similar buff here. I am thinking this could be really powerful if this is, potentially going to be able to hit opponents. Arachnus already hits people really hard if she does land her hit. For whatever reason, she just seems to hit way harder than other familiars in PvP. So I am very excited to see what Arachnus can kind of come out with after this, and I will want to test it. Remu, of course, got increase of damage minus from players. He got his skill hit rate increased like Arachnus. He also got skill motion time decreased before and after. So going to be much more capable of landing his ability. And in Familiar Arena, he also had his skill motion time reduced as well. So he's going to be a little bit more viable there. And again, his fear duration got extended too. So we may be seeing more Remu in Familiar Arena as well. Anyway, everybody, let me know what you guys think down in the description below. A lot of these changes have already happened on the Korean side, but I'm really excited to see how Arachnus functions now. I think Arachnus is going to be a little bit more viable in PvP. So thanks so much, everybody, and I will catch you all next time.